So, for today's video, I thought it would be a fun idea to rank the 10 Wu-Tang Clan members from the worst to the best. Now, I could have done this as my standard kind of top 10 videos, which I usually do on Tuesdays, but I thought it would be more fun to do this as a Friday video, which are my more discussion based ones, just so that I can talk about each member a bit more in depth. Keep in mind, I believe there isn't necessarily a worst Wu-Tang Clan member, there's just a least preferred one for me. I still think they're all incredibly good and talented, and they all add something to the group. I just definitely have some least preferred members. Additionally, this is based entirely on their performances on Wu-Tang Clan albums, so while I may mention a couple solo albums while I'm talking about the artists, they're not taken into consideration for this ranking. This is a ranking purely based on their performance within the clan. With that being said, guys, you can check out my new song Godzilla on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon, Deezer, all the platforms, Tidal. The links are all in the description below at the very top, so if you want to check out what me rapping sounds like, you can click on that. With all that being said, guys, today I'm going to be ranking all 10 members of the Wu-Tang Clan. This is just my opinion, yours is probably different, but let me know what your ranking is in the description below, and let's get right into this ranking. And at our number 10 spot, we have Cappadonna.
This is Beirut, try to comprehend, check out my new suit. Darts blend, aim, take fire, pure destruction. Disappear from here, my year, drop the stupid LPs everywhere. Falling out the sky, talk sniper, rap spot.
Now, like I said, being at the bottom spot on this list doesn't mean that Cappadonna is bad. I think he has a great voice and he has provided a lot of really good verses for the clan. In fact, one of the reasons why he's probably lower on here is just because I feel like I haven't heard many verses from him, as he wasn't really an official Wu member for their first two projects, which in my opinion are their most notable. In fact, in their first 5 albums, Cap has appeared the least amount of times in terms of words said. Shout out to Matt Daniels from the website The Pudding for finding this out statistically. I'm gonna reference the article they wrote about hip hop vocabulary later on too, and I think that's where my issue is with Cap. He's not necessarily doing anything wrong, it's just that I need to get more used to him being an official member of the clan. And at my number 9 spot, we have U-God.
United Nations, gunfire style patient, formulating rap, plural acapella, occupation, conquer land like Napoleon, military bomb vest, we want sanitary food, planetary conquest, thug peoples on some hardcore.
Now again, while I still think U-God is a very good rapper, he's just my second least preferred in the clan. I do think he has a great voice and it's instantly recognizable. As soon as you hear U-God on a track, you know it's him. He has a very bassy, rumbling voice, and you can recognize it from a mile away. I was first exposed to him on the song The Mystery of Chess Boxing, and I did love his verse on there. It was his first verse on the 36 Chambers album, and he came out strong. Actually, I'm pretty sure U-God is known for killing most verses, even though his verses only last a few bars usually. Another fantastic verse he has is on Impossible from their album Wu-Tang Forever. That one is brilliant. I do really like U-God, and he's definitely unique, but I feel like all the other members have more to offer, and that's why I have him a bit lower on this list. And here we are at number 8, I have Method Man.
Now creep with me as I roll through the stack. Little meth got my back, so do Pinky fat, let me hit that. Contact, learn how to act before you bring that drama to the end. Now fade to black.
I can imagine this one being quite a controversial pick because Method Man is so damn loved by Wu fans, and I still really like him, especially his personality as well. Like, watching interviews with Method Man is, like, I think he has some of the best interviews out of the Wu-Tang Clan. He's a really fun guy to just sit and listen to him talk for ages. But I just find myself mostly enjoying other members of the clan more. I think it's probably fair to say that if you like Meth's voice, you'll love it. But for me, it's hit or miss. I guess his delivery could best be described as asthmatic in a way. Like, it sounds very breathy, if that makes sense. Sometimes I even feel like he sounds a little bit out of place over the really gritty and dark instrumentals that RZA produces, but nonetheless, he's still a great MC. And when I first listened to Wu-Tang, aside from U-God, Meth was the most recognizable one to me, so he does stand out. Like, when I first listened to the Wu-Tang a couple years ago, it took me a while to learn who everybody was and match the voice to the name, but I knew when Method Man was spitting straight from the start, so I can definitely give him credit for standing out. At my number 7 pick, we have Old Dirty Bastard.
You best protect your neck.
First things first, man, you with the worst. I'll be sticking pins in your head like a nurse. I'll attack any nigga who's slacking this mat. Come fully packed with the fat buckets.
I think Old Dirty Bastard's biggest selling point is also what kind of holds him back for me. Like, this guy is just different. You can recognize him from the first word on any track. ODB really gives off this vibe of just like this crazy man in the street that ran into a studio, grabbed a microphone, and started rambling, but it's like the most entertaining rambling that you've ever heard in your life. I think one of my favorite verses from him is on The Mystery of Chess Boxing. He still does the very weird and random vocals that he's so fond of, but it also actually sounds pretty solid as an actual rap verse. I like when he manages to mix some serious rapping in with more of his wildness. The problem is that I know I definitely can't listen to it for too long. He's just like the perfect dose of silliness and wildness when he just has one verse, but I'm honestly not sure if I could listen to a whole ODB project. I don't feel like it would sound focused enough, but he still is insanely entertaining and made some fantastic stuff with the clan before he passed away. He really added a whole new dynamic to the group. And at my number 6 spot, we have Masta Killa.
A voice cries from the wilderness of the north, a representation of the families that lost one, or victims of incarceration, or other divisions of the family.
I love the story of how Masta Killa came to be in the Wu-Tang family. Basically, him and Killah Priest were competing to have a verse on the song which I've mentioned a few times by now, The Mystery of Chess Boxing. When Killah Priest fell asleep in the studio, Masta Killa took advantage of this and hopped in the studio, laid his vocals down, and he got featured on the official version and became an official member of the clan. I just think it's a pretty great and interesting story. As for how he raps, Masta Killa probably has the most kind of monotone flow out of the group. It sounds very calculated. His flows are also pretty interesting and off-kilter. His rhyme schemes are set up in pretty odd ways that only Masta Killa can make work. Listen to A Better Tomorrow. His rhyme scheme is oddly placed, but it still fits on the beat really well. Honestly, my only complaint is how monotone he can be sometimes. It works usually, but sometimes you just want him to exhibit a bit more energy, so you can really stay focused on what he's saying, because there is usually quite a bit of value within his lyrics. And for my number 5 pick, we have RZA.
I can't go to sleep, I can't shut my eyes. They shot the father in his mom's building 7 times. They shot Malcolm in the chest, one of his little seeds.
Now obviously I'm basing this list mostly on rapping, but if production or influence was a factor, RZA would shoot way up this list. I am still counting production and influence as a factor, as factors, but I'm not including them as equal factors to rapping. This list is just mostly ranking them in terms of their rapping. I mean, there's nothing I really need to say for his production anyway. It's incredible. Without RZA's beats, I don't think the clan would be what it is. It just adds another layer of gritty realism to their music. As for his rapping, RZA is potentially one of the rawest members in the Wu-Tang in terms of his rapping. He can be very blunt with his words most of the time, which helps him sound much more bold and forceful. His voice stands out and it has a very interesting sound to it. He's probably one of the best in the clan at sounding very pissed off. You just have to give credit to the guy, making most of the clan beats and rapping over them. He's definitely done a lot for the clan, and like I said, if I was basing this off other things as much as I was for rapping, RZA could very well be the top member. And at number 4, we have Inspectah Deck.
Fleeing the crime scene, speeding, beefing, leaving behind cream, not even peeping that I was leaking. Won't see the precinct, just got a recent case beating still.
A lot of fans of the Wu consider Inspectah Deck to be one of the most underrated members within the group. And I'd have to say, I kind of agree with that. I don't know what it is that makes him less noticeable, I guess, to most people, but it may have something to do with the fact that he has the most normal sounding voice within the clan, at least in my opinion. And when you're among a bunch of other rappers who have various unique and interesting and varied voices, maybe having the most normal voice makes you blend in a lot more, rather than making you stand out from the pack. However, there is a lot that he does really well. His most recognizable talent is being probably the best rhymer within the group. He uses a lot of multi-syllable rhymes and internals, and I don't know why, but I always expect the rhymes to be a lot less advanced in 90s music, but people like Inspectah Deck prove me wrong. A great example of this is his verse on Triumph. He has the first verse, and the rhyming along with his flow there is just amazing. He also has one of my favorite verses on the song Hollow Bones, which was one of my favorite tracks from the W. He even has some production credits, which I do respect, but it's on the song Visions, which personally I really didn't like that much. I can appreciate him making it, but I don't like how it sounds. Regardless, he's a pretty talented artist, and I definitely feel like he doesn't get as much recognition as he deserves. And for my third favorite member of the Wu-Tang Clan, we have Raekown.
I grew up on the crime side, the New York Times side. Staying alive was no job, had second hands. Moms bounced on old men, so then we moved to Shaolin Land.
Raekown is one of the members in the clan who really favors the use of slang in his music. Just from listening to him rapping, I've heard so much slang that refers to street life. Like, there is so much I've learned from listening to his music. He even does it in interviews. He just uses a bunch of really cool phrases. And sometimes it's kind of hard to pick up on what he's saying, but once you get used to it, you're like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. I guess that makes sense why you would say that phrase to mean this thing. You know, he just uses slang a lot. And that really helps add to his uniqueness. If there's one guy that you want to listen to for vivid storytelling about murder, drugs, and life on the streets, Raekown is that guy. Now, whilst I said I'm not basing this off of solo albums, it is worth mentioning that you have to check out Ray's album, Only Built for Cuban Links, if you haven't heard it yet. It's an absolute, like, certified classic within hip-hop, and it's mostly because of Ray's gritty stories and imagery. I'd probably say, out of the clan, Raekown has the strongest New York accent out of them all, and it makes him pretty recognizable too. I mean, maybe it's just me saying that, I don't know, I'm not great with accents and stuff. I guess a lot of people would debate that Ghostface has the strongest New York accent, but I feel that Ray does. I feel like there's a lot you can learn from listening to Raekown, even if it is just a few new cool words, and the way he describes things in such detail makes for a super interesting lesson. And at my number 2 spot, we have Ghostface Killah.
Ghostface, catch the blast of a hype verse. My clock burst, leaving a hearse. I did worse. I come rough, tough like an elephant tusk. Your head rush, fly like Egyptian musk. Oh shit.
One of the things that makes Ghostface so amazing is his raw intensity. He's probably the member of the clan that can display anguish, anger, and frustration the most through his vocals. And that is something I can't get enough of. You only have to listen to his verses on songs like I Can't Go to Sleep and Ja World just to see the emotion that he puts into his verses. And the good thing is, you'll know who he is straight away because he has the highest voice in the clan, and this works fully in his favor. Whether he's rapping about killing someone in very gruesome ways, or talking about the struggles he's had throughout his life, or hell, just making up really insane stories, he always does it with a breathtaking ferocity. He left an impression on me straight from the moment I turned on Enter the 36 Chambers, as Ghost has the first ever verse on that album. This was the guy that everyone trusted to be the first thing that listeners heard when they turned the first ever Wu-Tang album on, and that trust was not misplaced. There are not many rappers around that can rival the energy that Ghostface brings to a track. He always sounds hungry. You genuinely think nowadays that he's still trying to make it in the rap game with how viciously he rips apart his verses. And at my number 1 spot, and my personal favourite member of the Wu-Tang Clan, we have RZA.
My clan is thick like plaster, busher, slasher, slit a nigga back like a Dutch Masta Killa. Sal jumped off and killer. I was the thriller in the alley, Fraser Manila.
I think the best way to start this would be by saying I think I love every single verse I've heard from RZA on a Clan album. And it's weird, when I first listened to his solo album Liquid Swords, which is another one that has been hailed by most people in hip hop as a classic, I didn't really like it at first. I don't know what it was, but I just wasn't feeling it the first time I listened to it. But it has grown on me so much, and I actually have a physical copy of the album now. Still wrapped up in the cellophane. I think it looks really nice in it. I don't want to take it out, man. This is from like 1993. Classic stuff right here. Classic stuff that I really didn't like at first for some reason. His style is just something that clicks with me so well, and I love it. I love almost everything about his rapping. His voice is great. I really love the accent he has. It has a really dope sound to it. His flow is brilliant, and lyrically he said some stuff I've never even heard before. In fact, that article I mentioned earlier from the website called The Pudding did a lot of research in 2012 and found that RZA has the second largest vocabulary in hip hop, only bested by Aesop Rock. They found that in RZA's first 35,000 words that he rapped, 6,426 of them were unique words. That's pretty damn impressive. Other members of the clan were also pretty high up on the list, but RZA was the highest. An interesting thing I've also noticed is that on the debut Wu-Tang project, 36 Chambers, which I also have a physical copy of, I always buy physical copies of albums that I love, but on that project, every time RZA was on a track, he had the last verse. I think that speaks volumes to how highly regarded his skill is within the clan. And yeah, clan in the front, he had both verses, you know, the first and last, so he still had the last verse in that song. Don't you try and catch me out in no comments. I know what I'm saying. I'm assuming they knew if RZA closed out the tracks, they would all end with a pretty big punch, and indeed they did. While on some tracks he does favour a bit more of a monotone sound vocally, it's not a huge issue for me. He just knows how to sound really damn good when he's rapping, and without a doubt, he is my favourite member from the Wu-Tang Clan. Well guys, that is going to be it for the video today. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos similar to this one. As always, the links to my song Godzilla is in the description below. I really appreciate if you guys can check that out, but if not, I understand. You can also follow me on my social media accounts. You can find me on Instagram under the name CDTVProductions, and let me know your personal rankings of the Wu-Tang Clan in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll hopefully see you all in the next video, and this is CDTV Productions, signing out.